guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you everything that I have made in 2024, with the exceptions of things I've given away or things that I've sold. And even those, I'll have some pictures up here. If you see anything you like, check the description for the patterns, whether it's a video or a written pattern or just something I physically have written down. I'll have it sent to you if you can't find it on your own. If you end up liking this video, consider leaving a like, subscribing, sharing with your friends, or just dropping a comment below. Everything helps support me so I can keep doing what I do. And with that, let's get right into the video. So we're going to take this category by category, and I will model some things up here for you. We're going to start with clothing. So I want to show you guys first this crochet mini skirt that I came up with. And it may be very similar to ones that you've seen on Pinterest or on Instagram. But what my version has that a lot of these ones doesn't is the option for a more modest backside. So if you can see it from here, the back does come a little bit longer than it does in the front. So this can actually be worn out of the house or to just a regular event. Something that's a little bit more of, oh, let me throw it on over leggings than just here's my super tiny mini skirt. So this pattern also comes with a drawstring, so you can tighten it as much as you want. And in my video, I will show you how to adjust every sort of sizing issue you may come across. Next up is something I made literally 2 days ago, which is this chainmail style sweatshirt hoodie. So as we can see here, I have this really cool sort of balaclava almost, sort of balaclava, sort of a bonnet, and it's weighted with a huge hook. So even though the yarn is skinny, it gets this chainmail-like pattern. And as you can see here, the sweater comes in as well, and it is backless, but it hooks over top like this, and you can wear them either separately or together to create this like very medieval avant-garde chainmail sort of style. Next up is a super beginner-friendly project, which is any sort of a tube top. And this one here teaches you how to do the zigzag pattern. And it's just made with double crochets, so it's very beginner-friendly. And it's also very lesson-friendly if you want to learn a new stitch. For those of you who are a bit more on the intermediate to advanced levels, I have this little lingerie set that I made, which does have a video attached. And this piece here is much more complicated in that there's a lot of freeform and a lot of separate patterns. So we have these shells and windows all throughout the piece to help build your skills there, but also it just makes for something really, really cute. For something that's kind of in the middle of those two projects, I have very beginner stitching in this gigantic sweater that I made full of double crochets. However, it does teach you some interesting things like creating a neckline as well as attaching panels together. This sweater here is huge, and it comes with some side slits and bows on the bell sleeves. And even though it's really big and takes a while to make, the stitching themselves are very, very simple. So it lets you explore the world of real clothing and not just, oh, here's a little top that I made. This really does branch out into the full, here's a giant piece. And it took me quite some time, but in the video I'll explain every step and how to change colors and go back and forth on tons of things. I have some daintier pieces as well, like this little crop top here. And this features some ruffles as well as 2 different styles of yarn being used in the same piece. So if you're familiar with the terminology, this is a weight 4 yarn here, and in the center parts we use a weight 3 yarn. And this ends up creating a lot of texture in your piece and letting some parts stick out more than other. So while we have these cute windows with the beige, and that adds a little bit of texture here, because the purple is so strong, it even sticks out more, making this a bit more subtle and making this the focal point. I pushed myself a bit this year as well and reached out into some new patterns I'd never tried before, such as this off-the-shoulder medieval style long sleeve shirt. And this was something I did totally freeform and use a ribbed half double crochet for most of the piece, but then I tried to add some more intricate details, which was like this off-the-shoulder hem as opposed to the full coming up for a neckline. And something like this was a bit more difficult, and I had to do a lot of experimenting with drawstrings and different sorts of panel sizing, but it ended up being one of the more challenging pieces of my year, and probably in my top 3 of everything that I made. Sitting up a bit more for these ones, because these are my skirts and dresses, and while these are a lot easier than one might think, this is fully a double crocheted maxi dress. All it uses is these increasing and decreasing stitches to create that hourglass-like figure. So something like this, even though it's super, super long, is actually very, very simple and was one of my first pieces when I started branching into actual clothing and full-on, like, ensembles of crochet pieces. Similarly to that dress is this skirt that I made, and this is a fully lined skirt that I wear to work, and it is the same sort of shape as the maxi skirt, but the difference is I use a drawstring here and a ruffly bottom here, so it kind of looks more like a mermaid style skirt than just a plain maxi dress. My final piece of clothing here was more of a summer sort of piece, which was this halter neck mesh dress. And this again teach me a lot about doing form-fitting things, but something even as simple as a window added onto it will make the piece feel a lot more lived in and a lot more season versatile, if that makes sense. Next up for 2024 was all of the bags that I made and designed. So if you guys have been here for a while, you will remember this bag here, which was one of the first times I wanted to do something really interesting. So if you guys recognize him, this is Kirby. And while I do not own his rights or anything, I did make a bag to show off one of my favorite characters of all time. So totally Kirby inspired. I have all these pieces sewn onto him, his eyes, his mouth, his nose, all that stuff. And even his little feet are sewn onto this bag. And it uses this circle like pattern in the back and front for your panels, as well as this strap that comes all the way around. We also had one of my more popular videos this year, which was for my star bags. And while these ones again seem like, oh, it's just the bag on Pinterest, they featured something that I hadn't seen anybody else doing, which was closing up the hole in the middle. Because almost every star bag tutorial that I would find had this giant hole in the center of it because no one wanted to make the magic rings. So I showed you guys a million times over how to very simply and easily make your magic ring, and then how to attach your strap in a way that either popped out like this or went inwards like this to create that more cartoony stuffed animal look. I also started experimenting with patterns like this, which was my cute little strawberry phone bag. And what we did here was teach you guys how to do these color switches with the double crochet, as well as how to create this absolutely adorable, in my opinion, leafy, not hem, but overlay on your bag. I started experimenting with my tote bags and the tapestries I had put on them as well. So I made this one here, which was for myself. It's very big and I had to adjust the strap. But this one I put a really cool skull design on the front, as you can see here, and also did some stripes in the back. I also experimented with another design, doing a cross and more straps in the back. But for everybody who is just looking for the easiest crochet tote bag in the whole world, I came up with these patterns as well. And these tote bags are just the straight up rectangle. The strap is connected straight to the bag and doesn't pull on it at all. And also was using just one stitch the whole time around, just a half double crochet. I have two colors of them here just because I ended up wanting more than one. But the video will teach you, with this beautiful blue here, how to make this entire bag and see all the stitches super clearly. Now, if you're looking for another style tote bag or something to hold your groceries in, for example, just the other day I made this mesh bag that's made specifically for carrying your produce. So it has all these holes, obviously, but things can stack and stretch very well in this for taking it to the grocery store and just loading it up with whatever you need. But if we want to bring it back to the more intricate bags like this, I had a huge line of these shoulder bags come out this year, and this was probably my most intricate of them all, using these little scroll pieces for patchwork, opening and shutting with buttons. This one did not feature a zipper, but I have other ones that do. And this one had a double set of handles, both on the front and the detachable shoulder piece up here, which, like I said, could come on and off very easily with any piece like this. I really got into this style though and started making a lot like this, using buttons. This one ended up being lined with a silk piece. The tutorial for all these bags is up, and it uses this one as the example, which was a pink and brown fully lined, having extra pockets sort of shoulder bag. It came with these cute little bows on top, as well as the handles in the front and the shoulder strap too, so it could be worn however you wanted it. I believe I had just these two with that same style of pattern, both with different details though. This one did not have the flap over top, it was just a longer piece, but I had actual shells I'd taken from the beach to attach on like this and create these really cute aglet seashell things, so you could pull it like a drawstring. And I had this mail bag design as well. Again, this one did not feature the flap over top, just a button to keep it shut and to go over top your whole body. I was experimenting with duffel bags this year, and while this was my little prototype, I had a big one here that I had made at a custom order with a wonderful customer of mine. And this duffel bag features a ton of different things, such as this big strap and these smaller circular pieces connected to one giant rectangle to make the cylinder. And to finish up with the bag category, I have 4 of these very intricate and interesting bags. This was my goat's eye bag. That is just one gigantic circle with a strap connected around it. It can be worn crossbody like this, or it can be on the shoulder. And what I thought was really cool was creating the oval-like goat's eye to go in the middle. I also made my heart bag a few months ago that a lot of you really enjoyed, which was showing you how to add ruffles to the outer layers of a bag and create this super cute heart shape with these little bows on the side. And this has gotten some love from me recently. One of the bows fell off. I've used it so much at this point. But as you can see, the shape itself holds up really, really well, even though a heart is not a typical crochet sort of pattern. And my last 2 bags are both stuffed animal variations. This being my jellyfish bag here, which uses a zipper on the underneath to stuff the top with items. So unzip it here and put everything you want on the inside. You'd wear it around like this and all the tentacles would dangle from underneath. And my other stuffed animal is similar to the bunny hats that I would make, this time on the body of a cute bunny backpack. So you can open up on the back of his neck here and stuff his whole body full of whatever you needed for school or just for going out. Zip him up like this, and then throw him on behind you, and have this cute little bunny rabbit on your back. Before we get into the last category, which is hats and a couple accessories, I wanted to pull all these odd men out things here. So for starters, all the coasters that I've made this year, I'm condensing into just one because I had it laying around. These are my spiderweb coasters, which feature a very simple magic ring going out into a granny square. My pet hats were another really cute addition to my repertoire this year, and while my dog has ripped his mostly in half, my cat has kept hers really, really nice. And the premise of these was to kind of make something that fit the ears of your animals, whether it be a cat with pointy ears or a dog with big floppy ears. And they actually really liked them. I guess they were not very uncomfortable to the animals, so much so that my dog has run around a bunch outside, shaking the top of it off, and he loves it. It's very cute. Next was something I figured a lot of you can benefit from, and this was just a simple jellyfish that I had made from a ton of scrap yarn I had laying around from all my other projects. And I wanted to show you guys this specifically to give you an idea of what you can do with all your leftover yarn instead of just throwing it out or using it as stuffing, which a lot of people do too. Sometimes it's really cool just to have an amalgamation of colors and try out a pattern that you've never really made before. For tiny things, I just pulled out some bow decorations here because I'd made 2 separate variations of the bows that I use and even put them into a members only video since it was such a small project. Basically showing you the differences from making a flat bow and making a big chunky bow like this. I really like mermaids and sea creatures and all that sort of stuff, which you can maybe see the color scheme of in my pieces. And one of the things I was doing in the attempt to make these jellyfish was making a really cute little octopus plushie. And he takes not only 20 minutes to make, but very, very little amounts of yarn if you're just trying to move through your scrap. And the final honorary category piece that I have here is this headset that I turned into earmuffs. And the point of this was so I wouldn't have to throw out an old headset of mine. So I just ended up making these pieces to cover it all up, and now it can be put fully over top your head and keep your ears warm. And it works good. I already have a hard time hearing myself talk just putting this on for 2 seconds. The final category for all of you guys is hats and accessories. And by accessories, I mean the 1 pair of gloves that I have and didn't give away, which were these bunny gloves here. So these, which is one of my favorite patterns I'd come up with, was based off something that I'd seen in a New Jeans music video. I was so inspired by them, and I ended up making these really cute sailor stripy colored pattern gloves. And they have these little bunnies on the ends of them, and they were made specifically to go along with the hats that I would make. So this would always be a matching set, and I do have both tutorials up on my channel, so that way you can have both your bunny hat with the cute long ears, as well as the gloves to match. A style of hat that I was really into this year were the berets, and while this was the one I'd use in my video, I'd even come up with a couple other color schemes that I really liked. Something that used a really similar pattern to the berets are these, like, not quite beanies, but they're just like a little head covering that I'd come up with. And they start the same way as a beanie, or as a beret did, but the difference is instead of going back under for these ones, they just went straight down and covered the tops of your head. This one has these little windows on the bottom, which make it very dainty, where this bigger one here, I actually put little horns on top and left the windows bigger on the bottom to have something, I don't know if you would say is a bit more masculine than the other one, but it's definitely a bit bolder and a sturdier piece than the one with just the windows on the bottom. I had also seen that fuzzy yarn that was at the dollar store that everybody was going crazy over, and I thought what better to use it for than an accent for these Russian style hats. And this just was basically one giant circle that I put together that comes all the way up and around your head. And if you see here, we have the circle on the top like so, which you can tuck underneath and have this really sturdy and super warm piece. I also made one of these very classic old style winter hats with the ear flaps and everything to go underneath and the pom-pom on top. And this hat had something really cool in my opinion, which was this design that I had made of these different color switches going in and out and switching between the white, the brown, and the beige. I had also made a lot of bonnets this year and balaclavas. This was one of my more favorite ones because it was a very different and interesting pattern compared to some of the other ones I'd seen. So a piece like this comes up and over your head and then goes down in the back like so to kind of drawstring together and tie in the front. So it had a big opening here and was a lot different than the typical big circle in the middle, comes down your neck all the way, because I know some people don't like the texture issues. So this one I was like, we'll just make a little tie in the front. And then to end off our list of things I have here, I have these two different balaclavas I made using the same pattern, even though they have different yarns. So while this was made with a weight 4 and is very foldable and lays a little bit flatter, this was a weight 6 chunky yarn that comes to this super warm and insulated piece. And I like to make my ski masks and balaclavas really intricate and very beautiful, so that way you can wear them out to anything and not just because you're gonna go freeze in the snow. I had worn this to a couple Christmas events where we were outside, so it looked more like an avant-garde statement piece as opposed to just a regular ski mask. Thank you all so much for watching today's video, and more importantly, thank you for sticking with me this year. It was my first ever year on YouTube, and my first video was all the way back in March, and I really do want to show my appreciation for all of you, the over 100,000 people that watch my videos. I love every last one of you so much, and thank you for everything you've gotten to show me this year, and for everything I've gotten to experience. There's going to be so much more stuff coming on all of my socials over here, as well as on the channel itself this year. Thank you again, and I can't wait to see what 2025 has for us all. Bye-bye!